Bismillah. Welcome back, Zoo Crew. So we're going to start with this quote from Luffy, Monkey D. Luffy from One Piece, one of the greatest anime characters and one of the greatest pieces of fiction ever written, period. So the quote is, as long as I'm alive, I can try a million more times, or it's something like that, you know? And this is a theme that's like common in many animes. And I think this is one of the main reasons why people who are going through a hard time or like a rough patch in life resonate so much with anime. And just given the state of the world right now, I think this is why animes become so mainstream. Because growing up, like when I was in high school and university, like anime was one of those things that like nobody really spoke about, and like if you were watching anime, like you were labeled as like a weirdo or something, you know. And now literally you have like celebrities and like athletes and all these people who are like literally posting and talking about anime, you know. So times change, and I think this is one of the main reasons why people kind of come to anime. And to the point where like I literally saw this post on Instagram where he was talking about like this psychologist said that kids who grow up watching anime are way more resilient than those who watch like fairy tales. And I mean, like the whole essence of the post was essentially like comparing like the Disney fairy tale vibe to like anime, where in like a fairy tale you pretty much like hide, and like if things get hard, like you wait for somebody to come and save you, whereas like in anime, like the main character is just like gotta suck it up and like accept it is what it is and like keep going, right? Or like accepting like the shadow side and like not trying to run from things, you know. But yeah, so I mean, in life, the people who I've found to be like the most successful are the ones who are the most resourceful and the most resilient, right? So when we're talking about like resilient, it's you get knocked down 6 times, you get up 7 times, right? And the entrepreneurs who eventually become successful have tried and failed at more things that most people will ever try, right? Like every single person, or like let's say 80% of like the global population at one time or another has thought to start a business or had some kind of an idea to become like self-employed, and they won't ever act on it, right? They're too afraid to take the risk. They are too afraid of like the uncertainty and like all of these other things, you know. Whereas like somebody who's actually resilient and like born to be an entrepreneur, they're willing to like bet on themselves, they're willing to take the risk, right? They're willing to go and try multiple things. And like a lot of people have this like fear of failure, right? It's like, oh, I'm gonna do this thing, like what if it doesn't work? And it's like people don't care and people will forget just as quick, you know. So, and like a great example of this would be like my store. Like, so it was a clothing store slash barbershop called Arcadia. And like at the time, like when I had to shut everything down, I was so worried. I was like, oh, like I'm such a failure, etc. And it's like 6 months later, nobody even remembers what I was doing, you know? And like even the people who were like involved with that store barely remember like what we did, you know? Mind you, like if I bring it up, they're all like, yeah, it was sick. Like, and like I'm super grateful for all those people who like took a bet on me and like took a bet on themselves to like help me bring this like idea out of my head into the real world, you know? And I guess like I'm grateful in the sense that like because I grew up in like a business house or like an entrepreneurial family, like I was never really afraid to like take risks or like try different businesses. And then like of course like I had like financial support, right? Like in terms of money, like my needs were always taken care of. And I never really had to worry about money, right? So it kind of gave me the freedom to go and explore all these other things and like attempt so many different things and like have them blow up in my face. But like I learned so many things throughout all of these different business adventures and like ventures, right? And then like it all kind of crystallizes down the road, right? Everything, as long as you're like learning from your own mistakes and like learning from other people's mistakes, you get to a point where you're not making the same mistakes continually, right? And like version 1, then you have version 2, and then by the time you're at like version 10, it's like way more solid, right? And so many of the things that I've done, like they all seem pretty random, but at the same time, like they all kind of tie back into the same thing, which would be like mastering my sales ability, mastering my marketing, and then like systems and operations, right? And I guess like the main piece I was always missing was like the sales background, which is what I got from like Black Card and my time at Black Card. And like, I guess even like in terms of like marketing, I guess the piece I was missing was like being on camera, because I'm a very introverted, shy person, right? Like I was the kid in kindergarten that like wouldn't talk and would go and whisper in my teacher's ear if I had to like say something, right? To the point where like she literally had to call my parents in and was like, yo, why doesn't your son talk, you know? And then like over time, like I cultivated this like ability. And like shout out to Stefan, right? Like he told me like literally every day you're gonna post a video. It could be like 1 to 3 minutes, and I don't care if your eyes are bleeding, like you're gonna do it, right? And like after I did it so many times, the habit became like it became a habit, right? And then like I get more and more comfortable being on camera to the point where I literally just hit record and I just start talking, right? And I think so many people are like afraid of being on camera because they're worried about people judging them, and it's like people aren't even going to see it, first of all, and if they do see it, like they're not going to care, right? Everyone's so like absorbed in like their own life that nobody really cares about what's going on in everybody else's life. Like you're pretty much an NPC in every other person's life, right? You got to live your life as though you're your own main character, and you got to be willing to take risks. And like this is how you build resilience, is like you go do something you don't want to do, you get uncomfortable, and then you keep putting yourself in uncomfortable positions, and like you build the muscle of being uncomfortable, or like being comfortable with uncomfort, right? And then over time, like your tolerance for risks goes up, and your like resilience over time will build, right? Because something that like used to impact you negatively or like wiped you out emotionally, you'll get to a point where like it doesn't phase you anymore, right? And like the sales is a great example for this, especially if you're like cold calling people. Like you need a really thick skin, because like you're going to call like 20, 30, 40, 50 people, and maybe they're all going to hang up on you, right? And then you'll get that one win, and then now you're like, oh, okay, well I could do it, let me do it again, right? And then now the next time you get hung up on like 50 times, like it's not going to bother you because you already had that one win, you know? And I think most people give up before they ever get to that one win. And they're like, the way the world is, like people are forced to give up on their dreams, or people don't even like dream anymore, you know? And I guess this is another big theme in One Piece. Like Luffy like comes out of a barrel and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be king of the pirates, and everyone's like, oh bro, you're crazy, like why would you say that, like it's not possible, etc. And like he has so much belief in himself that he's like, no, I will do it even if I like die, you know? And I'm pretty sure at the end of the series he will become king of the pirates. And like we watch his whole journey, right, of like being just this like young rookie to like taking over the seas, becoming an emperor of the sea, and like just literally speed running this whole like pirate lifestyle, you know? And then I guess the other part of it is like being resourceful. So like creating money out of thin air. Because if you really think about it, like we've discussed this so many times, like fiat currency, etc. Like money is not a real thing, right? And literally like banks are a business. They're just literally printing money and like giving it to people and getting paid interest on it and creating money out of thin air. So like money is not a real thing that they give you and get paid to give you, right? So you have to learn about money. You have to learn the language of money and like finance, and like truly understand that it's not a real thing, right? And like this is where, and then when you understand this, like you're not as limited by your own beliefs, because then like even in terms of real estate, like this is where creative financing comes from, right? People understand that money's not a real thing, right? So you either get your price or you get your terms. And like when we're talking about terms, it's like people who are buying with 100% financing, a master lease, or like raising capital from other people, and like, or just taking control of a property, or like wholesaling, or you like sublease it out to somebody else, like Airbnb arbitrage, right? So they're creating money from nothing. And like another good example of this is most places, like businesses, will give you like revolving credit, right? So now let's say if you have to flip a house, you have a pro account at Home Depot, you open a line of credit, let's call it like 50K. Now you use that to buy the materials to renovate the house. You flip the house and you take your profit, you pay off your debt, and boom, like you're left with some money after. Like you literally created money out of thin air. Like you just pulled it out of thin air, right? And this is like the key thing for successful entrepreneurs. Like they're very resourceful in the sense like they can turn trash into cash, right? So they've mastered the art of just pulling money out of thin air. And again, like you get paid for creating value. So if you're not creating value, you're not going to get paid, right? So it doesn't matter if you have a product or a service, you need to be productive and create some type of value, right? And then once you create that value, like this is literally what all businesses do. They hire employees, so they buy your time. You now do the manual labor or like the grunt work to generate income for the business. They pay their expenses, including your salary, and then keep the rest, right? And they take on a lot more risk than the employee, which is why they get paid more, right? And people are like, oh, well, like without the employees, there would be no, like your business wouldn't work. And it's like, well, without the actual founder or the visionary, like pulling this idea out of their head, you wouldn't have a job, right? And look, this is the thing. Not everyone can be an entrepreneur. Like that's a fact, right? And not everyone is cut out to be an entrepreneur. A lot of people, like, for them, their safety is more important than freedom, right? And like you can't have safety and freedom. You can't have job security and unlimited income, you know? Like there's always going to be a give or a take. You can't have it both ways. So I think really like the core message of today is believe in yourself, dream as big as you can, and then chase your dream regardless of what life tries to like, however life tries to keep you down or stop you, you know? And just like Luffy, like you will eventually find the right crew, and these people don't even have to be aligned in your goal, right? Like his whole crew has different goals that they're all pursuing, but they're pursuing their goals as like a unit, right? And it's not necessarily even that like they're helping each other achieve their goals. It's just that it's like iron sharpens iron, right? If you hang out with unmotivated people, if you hang out with people who are always like unhappy, unlucky, miserable, ungrateful, like that shit's gonna bleed into your life, right? People who are not disciplined, people who are lazy, like you will, and like because it's so easy to fall into comfort, especially with the way the world is now, right? Like you just scroll through your phone, you're getting all these instant dopamine hits. You want food, you just order it online. Like everything is one click away, you know? Like people have grown so comfortable that like they can't live without being entertained. Like people don't know how to be bored. People don't know how to sit with themselves. And like I think this is why people don't even know how to think for themselves anymore, you know, even with like AI. So like people don't know how to read, people don't know how to research. Like they literally will have some kind of question, and then like without doing their own research, they'll just go and ask ChatGPT and believe whatever it is telling them, right? And then you're gonna end up with a whole society of like brainwashed people. So I think like the next form of like luxury is going to be people who are offline or people who can afford to be unplugged, right? And like the new kind of poverty will be people who are just chronically plugged in or online. And like the danger with this is like people think they're living, but it's like you're not even living, you know? Like go out in the real world, go explore, go travel, go talk to people in the real world. Like all of these like social media connections, like it's not real. Like you're not even getting the actual updates from this person. Like you have this superficial kind of conversation or connection. You're getting these like fake life highlight updates, and like everyone's living for their online life, right? Or like this online image that they've created and presenting to the world. And then like they're just super boring people, or like in real life, like they're so boring, right? And like alhamdulillah, like I've lived a very unique kind of life. So when people meet me, like I have so many different stories about so many different things that like it's very easy for me to build rapport with somebody, because it doesn't matter like what topic they're talking about. It could be philosophy, history, politics, health, wealth, like anime, gaming, art, music, you name it. And like I have some kind of a story or something I can relate to it. And then even if I don't have like a story, I'm the kind of person that like I listen more than I talk, right? So I'll end up just kind of hearing what they have to say and then learning from it and then kind of implementing it in my own life, right? And like a great example of this would be John. Shout out John. Because like when he explained to me why he's using a flip phone and stuff, and initially I was like, oh, what the fuck? Like this is retarded. Like how can you survive? And then he kind of explained how he goes about his day. And then like it clicked for me. I'm like, yo, people were living without smartphones 30 years ago and like they were fine. And really, like, I think our brains have become so like dependent on technology that we're becoming more stupid, right? Like, think about it even when you're driving. Like, back in the day, you didn't have backup cameras, so you had to know how to reverse out of a parking spot or like reverse into a parking spot, right? Now, people have backup cameras, parking sensors, and like if you take away all this tech, they're gonna hit a wall or they're gonna hit a car, right? Same thing with like GPS, right? Like back in the day, you'd have to know how to navigate with a map. Now, like I guarantee like maybe 1 to 10% of the population could navigate with like a map, right? And it's crazy because like my generation, like we literally saw this all like develop, right? Like Facebook came out when I was in high school, and like if you look at what it became, like it's very different than what it started as, right? Same thing with like GPS. Like we had MapQuest back in the day, and like the same thing with like phones. Like how many phone numbers did you used to remember as a kid? Like I used to remember at least like all of my cousins like landlines, phone numbers, uncles, aunts, parents, etc., right? Now like I barely even remember my own phone numbers sometimes because like I have two phone numbers, or like my parents' phone numbers, or like my siblings' phone numbers, you know? So like if I was to ever get stranded somewhere, like there's like a handful of people who I would need to call, and like I don't remember their phone numbers, right? And I think that's the case for a lot of people. And I think this is why like we're seeing such a big shift now towards like the analog lifestyle. Like iPods are coming back, phones with keyboards are coming back. People are journaling more. People are just writing in notebooks, right? And like, yeah, and I mean like even in terms of journaling, like I think people get like so worked up in their own head about this, and it's like, oh well, I can't write this, or like what if it sounds like this? And it's like, bro, you're not writing for anybody. Like you're just literally putting your thoughts in a place, or like dumping the stuff from your mind. And then like if you look at like Marcus Aurelius' meditations, like that's literally his journal, and like some of the stuff he writes, like who knows what the hell he was thinking or why he was writing that. And then like now thousands of years later, like we'll read his books and like learn life lessons from this, you know? So all in all, like I guess the main point of today was build your resilience, become resourceful, and don't let people who are lazy or undisciplined, like don't spend too much time with people who are lazy and undisciplined, because like you'll slip into comfort and mediocrity very easily, because having discipline is a very hard thing to do, especially in today's world. And then like I guess outside of this, like we'll end it on like this whole notion of that, like I gotta stop saying like so much, but the whole notion that like your biggest hater is someone you know and your biggest supporter is someone random, right? So like when I rebranded my whole Instagram and I started putting out clips, I was getting support from all kinds of random people and like strangers, or like people I'm not very close to, whereas like all the people who are like close to me, no support, no likes, no comments, no messages, like no checking in on me or anything, you know? And it's because while you're growing or like on this journey, people don't want to actually see you win, right? They want to just see you kind of like stumble and fall through life, because you're essentially a mirror to them and like all of their own inadequacies. So if you do end up winning, it makes them have to sit with themselves and like reflect on their life and realize like, okay, like I started the same place as this guy, or I started a little bit ahead of him, and like I wasn't able to chase my dreams, or I didn't have dreams, and like I didn't accomplish the things I wanted to do. Whereas like if you're still like struggling and like trying to build something, for these people, they look at you and they're like, oh, okay, cool, like I'm happy with my life, and like they can be content, right? Because it's a very hard thing to do, to like reach your full potential, but I think it's everyone's duty in life to reach their full potential, right? Like God put you here for a reason. It's not to just like sleep and eat and just be like a sloth, right? Like every single person has some kind of a unique talent or a skill or a strength that they need to cultivate, and like that's your gift to the universe, right? And I think this is why so many people become depressed or like anxious. It's because they know internally they could and should be doing so much more, or they never try and figure out what's their like true hidden talent and like cultivating it, you know? And it's like a video game, right? Everybody has this like different archetype, and then like a lot of people, they just let life tell them what archetype they are. They don't try all these different archetypes and they don't figure out which character they want to be or which avatar they want to play as or like what role they want to be, you know? They just let life decide for them. And then you have people with like midlife crisis or like, yeah. And like they feel their whole life is falling apart or they didn't accomplish anything. And like now they're sitting on their deathbed regretting their whole life and all their decisions. And at the end of the day, like if you don't like your life, it's literally you're the only person you can blame, because where you are today is a direct result of every single action or inaction that you did in your life, you know? So you set your goal, you said you're going to read 10 pages a day, you didn't do it. Well, that's on you, right? You said you're going to use your planner, you didn't do it, that's on you. You said you're going to go to the gym every day, you don't go, that's on you, right? It's very easy to just complain and be like, oh, well, like I'm overweight or like I don't feel good. And it's like, well, are you eating clean? Are you taking time out to meal prep? Are you working out? Are you exercising? If your answer is no to those things, like you have no right to complain. You have no right to be a victim. And yeah, literally, like it's as simple as that, right? And this is why I'm saying like it's very important to be resilient, and at the same time it's very important to be resourceful, because with the way the world's going, people are getting priced out of everything, right? Food prices going up, rent prices going up, gas prices going up. So you need to really like cultivate your own true skill, your God-given gift, because that's what's going to allow you to generate as much income as possible to sustain yourself. And let's say in a scenario where your talent is something that you can't use to make money, eventually you'll find people who need your gift and they will take care of you financially, right? Like back in the day, you had a patron who would find an artist and support that artist to create art, right? And I really do think that's where we're heading as a society. Like fiat currency is on its way out. The global economy is on its way out. It's like this bubble, the everything bubble I've been talking about since 2020, 2021, it's going to pop sooner or later, right? And if you don't hold gold or silver, you need to have some kind of a product or a service you can use to barter, because that's literally where we're going, right? If you're dependent on like the government to take care of you, well, newsflash, the government is not interested in taking care of you. And if you are like, and the government is not your friend, so get this idea out of your head that, oh yeah, the government will take care of me. Like, stop being lazy, go be a productive member of society, go create value and take care of yourself, you know? So yeah, I really didn't know what I was going to talk about today. I just hit record, I said Bismillah, and this is what we ended up with. So that's it for my rant for today. Zoo Crew, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace out.